Good afternoon and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adeliji. Happy 2024. Now, 2023 was that year, you'll agree with me. The year started off with so much hope and anticipation in the air. I'm talking about Nigeria Decides 2023. Irrespective of which candidate you supported, there was that hope and desire for a better Nigeria and a candidate that would take Nigeria to that desired promised land. And as we ushered in a new administration under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so many things started to happen. We had the removal of subsidy on petrol. We also had the floating of the naira, which led to devaluation, inflation rose, and of course, we still had some security challenges. So much happened in 2023. But as I cast my mind back to December, it was all about Dirty December, not to be confused with Dirty, D-I-R-T-Y. Dirty December was a time of merriment, and despite all the problems in Nigeria, we still saw that areas of recreation, clubs, bars, they were all packed. Religious centers, Nigerians came out to celebrate. And is that hope that we have in 2024 that it go better? Now, in 2024, if you go by some of the social media platforms, especially X, formerly Twitter, there's a collective sense of no grief for anybody. 2024 is that year where we're not going to agree for anybody that's coming with negativity or anybody that's in our way when it comes to our success. Now, to discuss the factors that will shape 2024, whether it's socio-political, economic, all the factors that will shape this year that we're in, I have with me a policy analyst, Timi Olagunju. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you for having me.
So, Timi, no grief for anybody. Is that your slogan? Are you with Nigerians on that?
Well, interestingly, I saw a few people talking about the no grief for anybody slogan. And I said, I beg, please, grief for God. That's my own mantra this year.
My own is grief for God, grief for family, grief for loved ones, grief for favor, grief for opportunities.
Yes.
I like that flip, taking it on a positive note. Now, in terms of the factors that will shape 2024, if you cast your mind back to 2023, what are some things that you see in particular? Let's start with the economic landscape. Do you see things getting better? The naira was floated. We know what the exchange rate is. Is that something that will continue to drive what's going to happen in Nigeria?
Interestingly so, I think that will be, particularly when you look at, firstly, the economic position, because, when you talk about economics, it's about, firstly, the Maslow's hierarchy of need, food, clothing, shelter, then other, needs, as it were. And when you look at that economic position, you see that increased inflation in terms of prices of goods, particularly food items, and also the issue of the, dollar naira discrepancy, and then a couple of those things will definitely weigh on Nigerians consistently. However, there are certain positions that have been laid out as solutions, policy solutions towards mitigating the effect of this continued downward slope.
You spoke about inflation, and we know that inflation cuts across housing, it cuts across food, even things like basic drugs. When we saw some of the multinationals depart from Nigeria and the cost of the naira to dollar, we've seen drugs almost quadruple, sometimes 5 times, 6 times the price. Are we going to see policies? Are we going to see the government coming in to make sure that some of this medication is available for the masses? Are we going to see food coming down, the prices of food? Because when you think about what's happening in the middle belt, security challenges, that has affected the cost of food.
To be frank with you, I do not see it. Maybe other people do see it. Frankly speaking, when you look at the trajectory of things, we can actually expect consistent increase in the prices of things. And then also, it all depends on, the policy framework and the actionability of this framework. We've had a lot of talk in 2023, particularly in the new government, and then 2024 hopefully will be the year of action, because as it stands now, the suffering has been tremendous on the Nigerian people. I remember recently when the president decided to do a tour through the market place towards his home, country home in Lagos, and the people at the market were actually saying, Ibin power, which means that people are terribly hungry. So to a large extent, I do not see a lot of, in terms of policy framework, there's a lot of talk, but we've not seen a lot of actionable positioning in terms of dealing with the issue, in terms of the downward slope of the naira as against the dollar and foreign currencies, in terms of the prices of goods and services, particularly food, clothing, shelter, and things of that nature. However, what would have been expected was that the budget, the 2024 budget, will show a similitude towards reciprocating a line of sacrifice. Because the removal, which is not even a complete removal, the World Bank has, stated recently, a few days ago, that it wasn't a complete removal. It was just a reduction in the subsidy offered. It's not a complete removal of subsidy.
And it's interesting you bring that up, because when the subsidy was removed, now that we know it's partial subsidy removed,
yes.
There was a lot of talk about palliatives, making sure that the vulnerable amongst us were going to receive sums of money to help cushion. How has the government fared in that regard?
Well, the road to hell can be littered with a lot of good intentions. One would have expected from a policy positioning that those kind of, plans for incentives and the likes would have been put in place even before the subsidy was removed. But then we had a flip-flop where we had the subsidy removed, and then the government was running a task-getter to find a way to cushion the effect of such on the Nigerian people. And then what we see is the fact that despite the sacrifice that has been put on the Nigerian people in terms of the removal of subsidy in quotes and things of that nature that has spiraled the cost of goods and services, we've not seen a reciprocal sacrifice on the part of government.
And you wanted to speak about the budget.
Yes, the 2024 budget, is evidence is the end of argument. When you look through the numbers in the budget, the allocations in the budget in terms of building new house for the vice president, which house did the previous vice president stay before then? In terms of, buying new cars, which cars that the previous officials used earlier, in juxtaposition to the sacrifice demanded from the Nigerian people, we do not see that kind of policy language from the 2024 budget as it stands. That budget should be, to achieve renewed hope, there should be a budget of sacrifice. We didn't see that kind of, policy of financial rhetorics in the budget. Now, when you now come to palliative itself, rather than the palliatives getting to the Nigerian people, we are hearing stories of some persons allocating the Nigerian hard-earned, suffered, sacrifice funds out of the fuel subsidy, which is supposed to cushion the effect, of the economic burden on the Nigerian people being distributed into private hands. It's quite appalling.
So the government needs to do better to show that it's also sacrificing the way the Nigerian people have been made to sacrifice. Now, I want us to move to security, because this has always been a challenge, whether it's unknown gunmen, it's banditry, it's Boko Haram, it's insurgency, it's militarism in the Niger Delta. In different forms, security has been a challenge. And just over the Christmas holiday, we saw what happened in Plateau State with all the killings. We've also seen where the Nigerian army has come out in a few months ago to say they are sorry for a mistake where they bombed a community in the quest to end all the insecurity. What should this government be doing in 2024 to protect the lives and the property of the Nigerian people?
I'm not a security expert, but common sense, they say sometimes is not common sense. And commonsensically, I would expect that the government focuses on dealing with the culprits. The culprits of this act are people that our intelligence forces are capable of fishing out without any political motive, if it is the motive of humanity, not the motive of politics, you will see that our intelligence agencies have the capacity to fish out this kind of people. For example, have you seen situations where the Nigerian police is motivated to actually do their work? You'll be shocked at the level of intelligence requisite, located in the Nigerian police itself. And sometimes you feel disappointed by some of the things they do. But the fact is that the political will is the first machinery towards ensuring that we remove all traces of politics in the situation here and focus on human lives by ensuring that the culprits are fished out and dealt with in a way that justice is not just done, but evidently seen to be done. That's the first thing. Because when evil behavior is not punished, right, it festers. What you promote is what becomes popular.
And I start to remember, I believe it was General Sani Abacha who said that we should look out when something hasn't been dealt with within 24 hours. It's political. Are these killings politically motivated?
One is tempted to assume that they are, because if they are not political, they are economic. The truth is that human nature is profit-driven. So there must be some profiteering, either economic profiteering or political profiteering, that has allowed this kind of action to fester, such that the value for human life is not put into consideration in the whole scheme of things. And that's something that we need to deal with. The most important resource for Nigerians, even for the government, is its people. Irrespective of the mineral resources, the natural resources, and the people are the most important resource. And the Nigerian government needs to show a commitment. I would expect
heads to roll?
Yeah, absolutely. I would even expect that the presidency shows a key concern by ensuring that the president visits that particular location. We've seen people who are ordinary Nigerians, like Very Dark Man, and even the BBC run documentary on the situation there.
Interview people, show
on the ground. So what is stopping Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, from visiting this site to establish a presence of a political will to ensure that justice is done?
And to stand with the people at
absolutely. A sense of empathy. That's what we need at this time. And this is important because unlike America, we run a presidential system of government. In America, there is a certain level of federalism. In Nigeria, by the constitution and the laws, the president is very powerful. The body language of the president, it reminds me of Buhari, the body language of the president, to a large extent, is policy.
So we've looked at the economy, we've looked at security. Now, what are some sectors that you expect in 2024 to drive Nigeria? I mean, I cast my mind back to say the entertainment. We had for the first time a Nollywood movie gross over 1 billion naira at the box office. I'm talking about the
tribe, yes, A Tribe Called Judah.
A Tribe Called Judah. So what sectors are we expecting in 2024 to drive the progress of Nigeria, to drive the economy, to bring Nigerians that renewed hope?
Thank you so much. I like the fact that you gave an expo to the fact that the entertainment industry is doing wonders. It can now start doing science in 2024 by ensuring that we also look at the back end of the entertainment industry. You see that, we are here on TV, right? We are the, somewhat the face of it. But there are people at the back end getting the job done, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. In the entertainment industry, we need to look at logistics capacity, young people being increasing capacity for logistics, young people in terms of their capacities to be able to handle stage and things like that. That's key.
Is
then
one
tech.
And tech. Sorry, I'll have to bring the conversation to an end, but we'll look out for entertainment, look out for tech. Thank you very much, Timi Olagunju, for your contributions on Rubbin Minds. We'll be going on a quick break. Do join us again.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.
Now I'm joined by a reality TV star, the host of Doyin's Corner, and she has quite an opinion on a lot of things. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Doyin David, to Rubbin.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you here. And I know that you have an opinion. I mean, I've seen it come through during your time in the Big Brother house. I've seen it come through online. And I want to start off with something that has taken the internet by storm. I would like you to weigh in on that. And that's Debbie, a.k.a. Mommy Z. Now, who wakes up at 4:50 a.m. to make lunch for her husband to take to work. And that was because her husband said that there was a single co-worker who was cooking food at home and bringing to the office with an extra utensil and saying, come and eat. Right. And so as not to be snatched, the woman felt that, no, I will wake up early. She didn't want to do it before, but she has started to wake up early to cook this food, make sure her husband has food so he doesn't have to be tempted by another woman's cooking. And Nigerians have reacted to the point that I've been seeing what my eyes can't believe. I've seen people donate money. I've seen companies jump in and they're handing out gifts. It's almost like Christmas all over again. And I'm wondering, going into 2024, is that the kind of wife that Nigerian women should emulate? Is that how God is going to bless you when you wake up at 4:50 a.m.? Or should we be questioning why these donations are going on? Where do you stand on this?
I mean, first of all, I have to say that I really applaud her. I think it's very commendable to be able to serve your partner like that. I think marriage is all about love, not even marriage. It's all about service to one another, right? The reason I say I commend her is because, I mean, she's doing something great, but you need to do that for a partner that is deserving of that type of action. That's where I stand. I'm sure for her to be able to wake up by that time to, I don't think it's just because of what her husband told her. I think it's because she's also thought about it and said, this man deserves this type of action. I mean, I've seen, backdated comments she's made praising him and all of that. If you have a partner that caters to you, caters to your needs, make sure that, you're happy, you're loved. I would wake up by 4 a.m. to cook. And I'm not even the best cook, but I would learn and I would serve my partner as long as I know that he's deserving of it.
Will you do that naturally, or will you do that as a response to your husband saying, somebody else is bringing me lunch?
I'm not even going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't do that naturally. I wouldn't do that. And that's also because I work and I intend to be a working wife. So if I have a 9-to-5, for example, and I also have to get to work early, I would assume that my husband loves me enough to not want to pull me through that. But if I'm a stay-at-home wife and I don't have a 9-to-5 to go to or anything, I'll wake up and cook for my husband if he's that type of partner. Do you understand? I would do it. But right now, with my present circumstance, I don't think that I would do that, just because I also have somewhere to go to in the morning, the same way he has somewhere to go to. So we just have to find another alternative, like for him to feed. But I do appreciate that Nigerians are, rewarding her. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with them rewarding her at all. But I just think it's important to state that if the woman also has a 9-to-5, I don't think it is fair for any partner to expect that she gets up by 4:30 to cook for him while she now starts getting ready and then prepares the kids and then starts getting ready to go to work too. It's not slavery, it's marriage. So that's where I stand like that.
Now, if the tables were turned, so, there are other people on the other side of the argument that if it was her that was working and she came home and said her unmarried male colleague came with food and said she should start eating, and she came to tell her husband, 9 out of 10, is that husband going to wake up at 4 a.m.?
I doubt it.
What would he do?
I doubt it. But see, the thing is, in this part of the world, we focus too much on gender roles. I don't really believe in gender roles like that. I think anybody that has the time to cater to their... If I'm working and my husband is a stay-at-home husband, and I come on and say, babe, see, this person was sharing their food with me. He can say, okay, you know what, I'm not doing anything.
Will you expect him to actually respond like that? Or will you say, well, eat the food and save us money, like Biggie?
I wouldn't expect him to respond like that, to be honest. I wouldn't expect my husband to wake up in the morning and go cook I wouldn't expect that. we'll probably just say, babe, see, don't worry. When you're going to work tomorrow morning, make sure you stop by and buy food or something like that. I wouldn't expect my husband to like say, okay, don't worry, I'll get up by 4:30 and go cook for you.
So why don't you think Nigerians are looking at that and saying, why is the husband okay with this woman who enjoys sleep and is now waking up early to make this food? Why aren't we asking questions like, why can't he buy food? Why can't he pack his food himself? Why stress someone else's daughter at 4:50 a.m.?
Also, buying food, he might not, I don't know what the financial situation is like. He might not be able to afford that. So some people rather cook at home because they can't afford to buy food. So that's one thing. But I mean, the story I have of the woman, I'm not sure if it's the correct story, but she doesn't work. Like, she's like a stay-at-home mom. So, I mean, wife. So I don't really think that is.
And you think Nigerians should be giving money, banks should be?
Yes, actually, I think it's nice. I think it's nice sometimes to celebrate the things that are not very common these days. You know, these days everybody has a voice, and I'm not opposed to that. I'm a feminist myself, right, to an extent. But I think sometimes these days we kind of shame, women that want to be wives. Women that want to just, there's some women that they want to take care of their man. They want to make sure that their man is good. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you have the time and is a good man, why not? So I think I would really, really applaud Nigerians for rewarding her. Yeah. Okay. I would reward that myself if I could, to be honest. I would.
But at the same time, you've also said if you have something doing, you're not going to stress yourself.
Yeah, but if I have a 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. But if I'm a stay-at-home wife and I'm well taken care of, by all means, I would.
Okay. Now, I would like to move to that whole collective slogan of no grief for anybody. Is that your mantra for 2024? And if yes, who are you not grieving for?
I know that's not my own mantra. Sometimes I feel like, when you prolong an argument, when you say I don't want grief for anybody, sometimes you kind of get in the mud with people you shouldn't even get in the mud with. There are certain situations that don't even deserve your time, don't deserve your energy. The more you feed into it, the worse it gets. So I would say I'm going to be very, very finicky about the situations I know grief for. And they're just certain situations I'm going to be like, you know what? This is not worth my time. And that's how it's going to be.
So what is your mantra for 2024? And what should we expect from you? Because we saw you in the Big Brother house, and there's a lot of expectation as to, okay, where is she going to from here? I mean, you have the podcast going. So what is it for you this 2024?
2024 for me, it's just all my years have always been about growth. I just want to do better than I did in 2023. So this year, I'm going to really be focusing on my show. I'm trying to make it as big and as popular as I can do. So that's, for me, is top of mind. And of course, to work with brands. I love brand influencing. I love working with brands that I agree with or resonate with, like the things that I like. So absolutely that. And I mean, my business also. I have a sunglasses line that would also continue. So those are the 3 channels I'm really focusing on this year.
So in podcasts, like this whole podcast landscape in Nigeria, there's been a lot of flack, like that the level of conversation these days just revolve around, or how much money does this person have? Or what's this person doing with her body? How can this person attract this person? And not really rising to maybe some of the needs of this country and having those kind of meaty conversations. What would you say differentiates your podcast from the rest? And have you received this kind of criticism?
Actually, I don't get that kind of backlash for my podcast because I'm very intentional about the topics I choose. I try to talk about things that we don't really talk about. But I don't really blame podcasters that choose these frivolous topics because Nigerians have a very short attention span, and that's just the truth. They don't engage conversations that are meaningful. If you come now and you want to talk about how to make Nigeria a better place, you would find 3-4 people as your audience. But once you come and talk about, should a man be giving a woman more money? Should a woman be this, then you find people engaging in those conversations. So I think Nigerians are hypocrites. They complain about the same things that they feed into. You cannot feed into something and then go around and then start complaining, oh, why people always talking about it? Then don't engage it. So we're suffering from serious hypocrisy in this country, and it's just sad.
So do you feel that going the other way and not going to please everybody and doing it like clickbait and putting out all those topics that will get a lot of virality on the internet, has that served you well? And do you have any regrets going down that line?
I think serving you well is very subjective, depending on what you consider important. For me, what I consider important is having meaningful conversations and longevity. So I don't regret going down that line at all. I don't really want to sit and talk about how much money is a man giving, how much money. I think that's it, to each its own one. I want to have like meaningful conversations. So I'm very comfortable with the trajectory my podcast is going. I'm very comfortable with the audience that I have. I know it will grow. And I know that there's nothing good that doesn't take time. It takes time, consistency, hard work. And I know it will grow.
And how have you been able to surmount all the, I would say would I say the wahala or the the wahala that came with, the Big Brother house? I mean, you had your run-ins with different housemates, and you were very vocal, and you were not afraid about how it positioned you in the minds of Nigerians. So how have you been able to ride through that wave? And do you have any regrets now? Do you watch some clips and wish like, oh, I wish I didn't do this? Maybe I didn't even go into the house.
Nah, never. The thing about me is this: I've never been one to conform. In every situation I found myself, I've always stood out. So I will never be the one that just goes with the pack. I'm very comfortable being the vocal one, the one that, says what everybody is too scared to say. And that would always come with backlash. So even while I was in the house, there were so many times I said, I know I have trolls outside. I was very aware of it. I don't regret a word I said. I don't regret anything that I said to anybody, especially in like confrontations or anything like that. So coming out and seeing all of that, I mean, it was a lot. I'm not even going to lie. At first, I was like, oh God, this is a lot, But then I'm like, this is Doyin. Like, this has always been me, like, since I was growing up. So I'm comfortable with people, bashing me, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's a bandwagon thing. There are a lot of people that bash me that don't even think those things about me. But because it's the common thing, that's the popular opinion, that's what they're hearing everybody say, so they just say it. A lot of Nigerians don't have a mind of their own. That's just the truth. They'll go with what most people are saying. So it's not on me to now be feeling bad for somebody that cannot make up their mind on standing on an opinion. No. So if you want to come at me for speaking the truth, knowing fully well, deep down, that I'm speaking the truth, I think you're the one with the problem. I don't think that that's my problem. So I don't regret anything. I'm good with it now. I spent some time with my friends and my family when I came out, just to, have a more familiar environment. And now I'm good. I don't read the comments. I don't really pay attention to them. I just do my thing, and I just pray that God blesses my work.
Now let's move to female friendships, because I watched a clip of you talking about, you actually faced the camera and said, in all your female friends, nobody has given you $1, $1, $1.
It is the truth.
And you have female friends from the house.
Yes, I do.
Is there any expectation that, as you do for me, make you also do for me? Like, do you feel that they are not measuring up?
Okay, yes, I do have female friends from the house. I've come to accept this reality about myself. I'm a very intense person. With friendships, relationships, I give my 100%. And I think where I fall short is I expect that same energy from people. And I need to understand that not everybody's wired like me. And it's not because they're bad people. We just have our different strengths and we love differently. So yes, I find myself in situations where I'm like, this person is not giving me the energy I'm giving them, or I'm doing so much for this person. And then when I actually had that situation very recently. There's someone I felt like, I really love this person, right? But when I wanted them to come through for me, they were not there. So that really, really hurt me. I've communicated that to her now. But I mean,
Because in the house, I know you carry the Lebaye's matter on your head. Like, you literally fought, like, no, this is wrong. And time, you've always stood up for what you believed in. And as you said, you would expect that person comes through for you.
But I've just come to understand that, people might not, give back as much as you're giving them. If I'm giving with an expectation to receive, then what does that really say about me being a giver? So I try not to expect too much. I also try not to have too many influencer friends now. I try to have my friendships with people that I had before Big Brother. So I'm not really like tight with many of them. So I'm good as it is now. I just accept them the way they are and I do my thing.
Now, in the men's department, I'm curious to know, like one of these podcast shows, like what is important these days when choosing a life partner? What are you looking out for? What should women be looking out for? Because you mentioned that you are a feminist.
Yeah.
You're a feminist. So what is important these days in choosing a life partner?
I think what is important is very different relating to the person you're asking. But for me, what is important to me, the number one thing is someone that is considerate. If you have a partner that is considerate, they think about you before every action that they take. They think about how it will affect you, how it's going to affect the family. That is very important. So someone that is considerate, someone that is kind, someone that is giving, because I'm not about that broke life. That's just the truth.
So does the person have to be rich? Like, can you date someone that lives on the mainland?
I don't live on the mainland. If I'm going to date you, I don't think there's anything bad with living on the mainland, though. But like, if I'm going to date you, we're going to have to move to the island. Just because that's what I'm used to. It's also closer to like everything I do.
So you expect him to move to the island and not you to move to the...
Oh, absolutely. He'll move to the island. Yes. I'm not going to move to the mainland. That's just me. So if he really wants somebody that would live on the mainland, he could find himself another wife. But that's not going to be me.
So there's not even like compromise, like, okay, no. I understand that you live on the mainland, your work is on the mainland.
His work is... We're going to have to find a place that is like central for the both of us, because most of the things that I do, everything that I do is on the island, actually, situated on the island. So it'd be strange for me to now pack up my whole life and just move to the mainland because I'm getting married. I'm not going to do that. And that's not because I don't respect my husband. It's just, let's do something that works for the both of us. So if you can find like a middle ground, maybe somewhere that, is easily accessible for just him and I. But I'm not looking to marry the richest man, no.
What does rich mean? Like cars,
I think
houses,
for me,
money.
Rich for me is let's be comfortable. Let's be able to, give ourselves and our kids the fine things of life. I want my kids to be exposed. I want them to travel. It's more than just providing food.
Travel business class.
Yes, I want them to travel business class, actually, yes. I want them to have the nice things of life. I want them to see that their parents can give them whatever it is that life can offer. I don't want my daughter... One of my biggest goals in life is to make sure that my daughter doesn't date anybody for what they can give to them, because their parent is already giving that to them. So I want to give my kids the life that my parents gave to me. My parents gave me a very comfortable life. We didn't have to suffer. We could travel. We could do things. So that's what I want to give to my kids. That's what I'm used to. And I'm not going to settle for a man that cannot give us that. Because apart from him, I'm also going to be working. I've already said I'm never going to be a stay-at-home wife. I'll work, I'll contribute, but both of us as a collective, we have to be able to give our kids a good life.
Okay. So that's what's on the list. And are you actively looking to settle down?
To settle down? No.
Is there a special love interest, a situationship, a relationship?
I mean, I'm dating around. I'm talking to people. Let me tell you, nobody in Lagos is fully, officially single. That thing is a lie. Nobody is so single that they're not talking to anybody. There's been someone in my life for a long time now. We're still...
Toasting or friendship zone, or you people have moved.
I don't want to say, because he's not my husband yet. Now, if I can't say it now, I can't chase my real husband away. I beg. For now, I'm single until I'm married. Don't you see a ring on this finger?
Are you single and searching, or you're single and considering this main guy that has been there, Tete?
I'm single and hoping for God's best plan for me. That's it. I'm not necessarily searching, but also I'm not like closed off. I'm just like, whatever, I'm just going with God's plan. However life navigates me, I'll go.
And speaking of God's plan, how are you able to navigate your spirituality and going into this 2024? Like, what's God saying?
My spirituality is one thing I'm really working on. I haven't been to church in, I think, 2 years or 3 years. I haven't been to church. I don't really have any pastor relationship. And the people that have pastors, I don't really have that. I believe that I have a personal relationship with God. I pray. I talk to him like I'm talking to my friend. And I'm like, I'm struggling. Okay, can you not come through for me? That's literally how I speak to God. So I have a personal relationship with God. Can it get better? Absolutely. I'm hoping it'll get better. I'm trying. I don't really read the Bible that much. I want to try and do that. So I'm a work in progress in that department, but I try my best. But I believe that the most important thing is to be a good person and love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. And I think I practice that very well. So,
Okay, finally, how will you describe the delights?
oh my God. They have my heart. They're literally the best people. You know why I say they're the best people? When I was in the house, standing Doyin or being a fan of Doyin was a very unpopular thing because of how much, controversy came with the name Doyin. So the people that stuck by me when it wasn't popular to stick by Doyin, to me, they're more than fans. To me, they're family. If I could help each and every one of them and come through for them, I'll do it, because I really, really, really love loyal people. Like, they didn't care that people were saying, who is this girl? They were like, you know what? However she is, I'm going to stick by her. So I'll stick by them any day, anytime.
Fans like family. And that's where we'll bring this segment to a close. Thank you so much, Doyin David, for being our guest here on Rubbin Minds, and all the best with all your goals for 2024.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.
Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now, our final segment focuses on something that we all want. Owo, kudi, ego, na money, owo ni koko. So, going into 2024, what are your plans for your money? Are you planning to save? Are you planning to invest? Are you planning to add multiple streams of income? What's your plan in light of all the economic realities? Or maybe even Jackpot is there and you need to save up for that. Now, I'm joined by an investment analyst who's also the COO of Money Africa and Ladder, in the person of Adedayo Bakari. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So 2024, Owo ni koko. What is that number one resolution, if you did make resolutions for you concerning money?
I think for me, 2024 is basically going to follow the path we've seen in 2023. So it's going to be another challenging year for Nigerians who are based in Nigeria. And so the priority for me is growing my income to ensure that, it outpaces inflation. So inflation basically means the rise in the, prices of goods and services that consumers, people like us, will typically buy. And prices have been going up by around 28% throughout 2023. In 2024, we might see a moderation, but it's still going to be around 25 to 30%. And so that means if you want to ensure that you maintain your standard of living or the quality of your life, then you must be targeting a situation where your income is growing faster or at the same pace, as inflation. Or at the worst case, then that means you have to aggressively cut down on your expenses. And we don't want to do that.
Now, I was kind of hoping for some good news. Earlier on in the program, we spoke about, the economic situation in Nigeria, and there was no good news. It was like what you saw in 2023, expect in 2024, just by what is happening. So this means that Nigerians should be ready to tighten their belts, like you just said, whether they're cutting down their expenses or they're growing their income. And I like the fact that you use the word grow. So how can Nigerians cultivate, grow, incubate that money to be able to keep up with inflation or go above inflation? What are some low-hanging fruits that Nigerians can start doing from today? We're still in the first week of the new year.
Yeah, it varies from person to person. Typically, we always say, at Money Africa, that it's to be very practical. You have to be very realistic about your finances, right? Also, you have to be very realistic about your income and the quality of opportunities that you have as an individual. If you don't have a lot of opportunities in whatever sector you are, you're working in, then the priority this year should be to ensure that you maybe acquire the knowledge or the skill that will open up more opportunities, to you, whether in bigger cities or even outside, Nigeria. We have a lot of people who are freelancing, at the moment. Another very practical thing to notice that it's always easier to manage expenses than it is to grow income. You can plan and say, maybe by June I'll get a promotion at work, but you don't know for sure that is going to happen. And so you can't spend on the basis of an income that you're anticipating later in the year that might not, become a reality. Exactly. And so that is why you have to have a strong handle on your expenses, right? Then work harder to ensure that you're able to expand the opportunities available to you and grow your income. You asked for, low-hanging opportunities, and, we sometimes talk about how it is important for people to have, multiple streams of income. And one of the things we say also is that if you're in a job that is, say, paying a minimum wage, for instance, of like 30,000 naira, multiple streams of income might probably not move a lot of the needle for you. What you need is really to maybe concentrate on acquiring a skill over, say, 3 months to access opportunities that can double, your income or triple your income. So it's not just in, you don't want to overstretch yourself because you still want to be able to have time for leisure, to take care of your family and to be there for things and people that matter, right? So for us, we think priority is ensuring that you just develop yourself more too. And also, if you're someone who is a professional already, who has a lot of skills, then now is the time to think about how can I creatively tap into, my existing knowledge. Should I,
maybe
introducing
a course
on cooking, for instance, because I'm a fantastic chef, or do I have just a new way of, say you're very good at sourcing items for people and you put that into a course, or you're just teaching that. Do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a podcast? Do you want to start a podcast or something? So if you have an existing skill that is very marketable and in demand, then this is time to put it to use.
And ask yourselves how you can maybe create value with that same skill. Now, I want us to look at savings, because for people who are risk averse, the easiest thing is to leave money in their account. And I know you've said grow income. Now, when you're saving in Naira, inflation is happening. The Naira is being devalued every day. And you're almost looking at, the purchasing power I had in January 2023 is not the same purchasing power in January 2024. So are you of the opinion that Nigerians shouldn't save in Naira? Nigerians should find ways to earn foreign currency and save in foreign currency to hedge against inflation?
It can be both. So it depends on your priorities. If, for instance, if I live in the country, I live in Nigeria, and my rent is in Naira, then I want to save for it in Naira, right? If I have Japa plans, like you mentioned, my Japa plan would probably be in pounds or in dollars, then I want to save that in the currency of, sort of the country I'm migrating to. So one of the ways to manage risk effectively is to ensure that you match your savings, the currency in which you're saving, to the currency of your obligation. So if you need money in dollars, save for it in dollars. If you need money in Naira, save for it in Naira. When you do it that way, movements in the exchange rates will not affect you. And you still be in a very comfortable position to achieve all your goals. Now, that said, we know that over the past couple of years, the Nigerian economy has faced a lot of challenges. Oil production has come down. Our oil exports have declined aggressively, and because of that, we're not earning enough FX as we used to. And the consequence of that is a depreciation in the Naira. So just last year alone, we saw over a 50% decline in the value of the Naira. And what that has made attractive to people, not just even to individuals, but for people running businesses and even the government, is to ensure that we're now we are now a bit more creative about exporting, ensuring that we can earn in FX. Because when we start earning in FX, then, when you convert it into Naira, it becomes, a big amount of money. Of course, you can make the argument that, inflation is also running very high. But over time, it ensures that you are still able to maintain the quality of your life, the quality of your business, and also, ensuring that the standard of living in your family and your immediate environment is fine. So that's the advantage of ensuring that you have FX. Now, when it comes to also savings that are long-term in nature, sometimes maybe you're paying school fees in the next 3 months. That's a very short-term saving, right? But when it comes to maybe, I want to buy a property and I'm planning to buy it, say, over the next 5 years, then that is when you can start thinking of a superior currency like, dollars, because you're sure that over a long period of time, the dollar tends to appreciate over the naira. But over just a week, over a month, over 6 months, anything can happen. And that is why you need to be disciplined to ensure that when you need money in dollars, save for it in dollars. When you need it in naira, save for it in naira. And that was one of the lessons that a lot of people learned last year
in 2023. So I know you're an investment analyst, and I want your opinion on all these agri-techs that have been popping up. So some of them are saying invest in 2 plots of land that were maybe cultivating maize, and over 6 months we're going to give you 40%, or invest in chickens, and over 1 year we're going to get 30%. And we've seen these agri-techs just pop up everywhere, and for some people who have invested, they've had stories, lots of stories, and there's almost that fear now in investing in some of these agri-tech products. Going into 2024, should we expect more of that? Should Nigerians how should Nigerians see this opportunity? Okay,
the fears are not unfounded. And what we typically say is also that when when things get difficult, a lot of investment schemes, a lot of Ponzi schemes come around. Now, I'm not saying agri-tech investment platforms are fraudulent, but it's important to be very, very careful, because a lot of those schemes started around 2016, 2017, and the majority of them defaulted. Investors gave them money, and they could not return that money. Why? It is because, forget tech, agriculture is agriculture, and agriculture is fundamentally risky, especially in Nigeria. Your farmland can be flooded. There could be insecurity where you have herdsmen, bringing their cows to graze on your land. Then there's, a lot of also farmers getting murdered and all those things. So agric is very, very risky. So even if the promoters of those platforms have the best intentions, right, you as an investor need to realize the risk that there's a chance that I might not get my capital back, not to mention returns, right? And so you want to ensure that even if you want to take advantage of those opportunities, you should not allocate too much of your money to it. So if I have 100,000 naira to invest, I wouldn't give the entire 100,000 naira to an agri-tech investment. I might say, okay, I shouldn't use more than 10% of my portfolio, which is 10,000 naira, for this investment. Why? Because I realize that it's risky. And if something goes wrong, it could be very, very damaging for my finances. So that's one way to treat risky investment. Reduce your exposure so that if anything goes wrong, you're protected. Also, another thing that is very critical is before you start doing investment in anything risky, which is, buying stocks or doing real estate, ensure that you have emergency funds, which is money that you just put aside to protect you and your family, so that even if no money comes in a month, right, you are still, okay, and you're fine. More importantly, a way to think about how to invest your money is to look at what the government is paying investors. So if you just put it on Google, Nigerian Treasury Bill, 364-day rates, it will tell you what the Nigerian government gives to investors over 1 year. Currently, it is less than 15%. So if any platform is offering you, that is in a year, less than 15% for a year. So if any platform is offering you 40% for 6 months, we have 2 6 months in a year, that's 80% in a year. The question you should ask is, how are you going to make that money?
When the government is not even able to do 15%. And I think on that note, we'll bring this segment to an end and the show. Thank you for all your contributions, Adedayo Bakare. Thank you. And that's where we'll close the show today. Remember to have that emergency fund going into 2024. My name is Isabella Adediji. Do have a great afternoon. Goodbye.
Wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time.